place to live.
Well, bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes will hear an unprecedented request from the city of Detroit tomorrow. The city's emergency manager wants hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds to be defined as unsecured debt. If Judge Stephen Rhodes rules the bonds are unsecured, creditors may not be paid in full. In fact, they could get paid a lot less than what they are owed, and that would be unprecedented.
And as early as tomorrow, the city could unveil its detailed plan to exit bankruptcy called the Plan of Adjustment. The plan would outline the future of day-to-day services, cuts to pensioners, and payment plans for creditors and unions.
Well, one man who has been following every twist and turn in this case is Stephen Henderson, editor of the Detroit Free Press editorial page. He is joining the Action News team as a regular contributor. We're calling him our Detroit 2020 Insider. Stephen, welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us tonight. All right, in a column on Sunday about the city's bankruptcy move, you said in it, the calculus here is pretty simple. Screw the banks and take a short-term hit to the city's borrowing ability, but get the debt off our backs. If that happens, Stephen, what is next for the city?
Well, it's a little bit like walking away from a mortgage, Joanne. Think about what happens then. You take that short-term credit hit, but the money you were spending on that mortgage is now available to spend on other things. In the city's case, we would hope that would be city services, lowering the response time for police and fire, getting trash pickup back in line, all the things that we've been struggling with for so long.
Stephen, it is a fact of life that cities have to borrow money to function. If Detroit walks away from its debt, who will then lend us money and at what interest rate?
Well, in the short term, that's going to be a real problem. There may be lenders who say, you know, you walked away from your debt, we're not going to extend any bonds. Others will say you're going to have to pay double the interest rate. But we've got some examples around the globe of other countries that have gotten into this problem. Greece and Spain in the last couple of years, they already are through that and back to semi-normal borrowing rates. And so I think the hope is that Detroit could do the same thing.
And the hope is that Detroit could bounce back in such a way that it would be an attractive city, in a sense, right, to lend to.
Sure. If you spend more money on services and maybe lower the tax rate, if you don't have the bonds, you don't necessarily need the taxes to pay the bonds. Now you start making Detroit a better sell to people who might want to live here, to come here, pay more taxes. That builds up the tax base. Yeah. That makes the city more of an investment appeal.
And that's what we're all going for, of course. Now, Stephen, to put in perspective here, the debt represents about $369 million of Detroit's $18.5 billion in debt. So what happens if the judge rules against the city and says we have to honor these bond deals?
Well, I mean, we'd end up having to restructure that in a different way. You can always renegotiate the terms of the loan and the interest rates. You can also cut a deal with the bond holders outside of court to say, look, you know, we don't have your money, but we can get you something, and if we go to court, you'll end up with less. So that's what would happen if the judge said no.
Thanks, fighting this hard, I know. Also tomorrow, Stephen, we could see the city's plan to exit bankruptcy, as we mentioned just a couple minutes ago. Do you expect any surprises?
I think what we'll see is a lot of detail about the restructuring of city government. How will city services look? How widely spread will they be? And how will we pay for them? That we haven't heard that yet from Kevin Orr. They've been working on that with consultants since last fall. This will be our first glimpse at how they figure Detroit moves forward after we get out of court.
Okay, Stephen Henderson with the Detroit Free Press, thank you so much for joining us here on 7 Action News.
Yeah, we look forward to talking.